Hello again, lovelies. Welcome to your bonus retro rumble for the week, and one more welcome, a bonus welcome, if you will, back to the whip slinging, skeleton smashing, hunchback hunting, demon decimating, mummy murdering, Medusa mulching, spider slapping, bat beating, dragon dispatching, cyclops strangling, crow crushing, gremlin garrotting, Frankenstein filleting. One more, come on. Ow. Fuck. I picked literally the hardest one. Who picks ow? The fuck begins with O. Owning! Owl owning World of Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse. Son of a bitch. I'm writing that shit down before I start next time. It's 8 AM. Too early for this. Castlevania with your Cheerios. We're picking up where we left on our grand tour of this NES horror action platforming classic here in Stage 7A, the Castle Courtyard. The first of two routes into Dracula's Castle. Here's a callback to a late section in the original Castlevania where giant eagles rained a plague of those annoying bastard hunchbacks down on top of you. Here it's harpies carrying ghoul rabbits, but in a strange bit of localization. If you're playing the North American version of Dracula's Curse, they've actually been changed back to hunchbacks. Couldn't tell you why. Is the rabbit revered anywhere in North America? Are there any particularly sensitive rabbit-related incidents that they wanted to spare the public from reliving in a triggered panic? That'll be a Google search later, I think. Something to do over lunch. Actually, maybe not lunch. I can see that leading down a black hole to furry land. But then, I mean, that's most things now, isn't it? All roads lead to furry land. Take your sanity into your own hands the second you type anything into Google. I know of at least one Japanese shrine to a rabbit. Suki Shrine. There's a rabbit statue there that's supposed to be a messenger to the moon god. And you'd think the moon god would have picked an animal that actually stood a chance of delivering any messages to him, like, well, there aren't any animals capable of flying into space, are there? I'm mixing reality up with the Apollo 13 sequel I wrote again. Oh, no, wait. That was in the sequel I wrote to the sequel. Apollo 13 2, Apollo 16. You have to see the first sequel to understand the title. It's not even set in space. It's about how Gary Sinise's character falls through a wormhole and meets himself in Forrest Gump. And they have to build a spaceship to get him back to his own dimension. I don't want to blow my own horn here, but showed it to my dad and he said, "Wow!" Direct quote there. And I snatched it back and fled before he could begin his next sentence because now I have a legitimate quote that I can use for the marketing material. And I'll be goddamned if anybody's taking it away from me. There's a post-credits twist where Gary goes to visit Tom Hanks and it's suddenly revealed that Gary came back to the wrong dimension because Tom's entire family have giraffe faces. Time for a triple threat boss attack now, and you'd have seen this set up in the first part of our Dracula's Curse playthrough back on the ghost ship of fools. Difference now being that there are 3 coffins full of evil to smite, rather than 2. The colouring on the coffins is fabulous, isn't it? Electric mauve. It's like attending a funeral in an alternative reality where all 3 of the Bee Gees went down in the same plane crash instead of death clawing them away one by one, afraid to face them all at once. Once again, you get the mummies first before it dumps the Cyclops on you. Who's in the third one? Say hello to the Lesser Demon, or Leviathan. This is another thing I prefer about the Japanese version of this game. He looks awesome here, but significantly less majestically infernal in the Western release, as they redesigned his sprite. God knows why. As you'll note from his health bar, this motherfucker can take the heaviest beating out of all the bosses, requiring multiple strikes with a fully upgraded whip to even chip him down a single notch, so your best bet is to always keep these crosses flying backwards and forwards to make as much of the screen as hostile towards him as you can manage. Godspeed, Lesser Demon. Keep earning those demon badges. You'll hit mediocre demons soon enough. And then the sky is the limit. And I mean that. You stay away from the moon. Alrighty, I've just switched playthroughs to put us all the way back at the branching path in the middle of stage 3 now, as after stage 7A all the branching paths converge and you're heading blinkers down straight into Dracula's castle. So here's the beginning of your alternative route set that leads you through bogs, caves, mines and drowned cities, beginning with stage 4, the murky marsh of morbid morons. Again, I'm not being facetious here, that's what the level's called. Now, your exclusive enemies for this foul eco toilet are giant frogs and the mudmen. The The frogs here look way more menacing than they did in Super Castlevania 4, let me tell you. At least I look at these and think, that could probably have a fair old whack at eating me. In Super Castlevania 4, they're literally just frogs. Just wee little common as muck frogs. And of course, Simon, being Simon, like any degree of damage he takes, causes him to hurl himself backwards like he's jumping clear of a gas tanker explosion. So when this tiny green frog hops into his shin, and he flies back like, ah, fuck! My leg! Ah! I think it's broken! I mean, I don't feel excited to play as Simon by that point, you know? I start feeling like he might need a little sit down and a cuddle. Trevor's made of sterner stuff than his idiot grandchild, though. He's not about to have any sort of breakdown in this filthy bog. Which is just as well, really, because you sink too low into the muck here, it's game over. Did you know that when this was released in America, at a contest that ran with it, win a trip to Transylvania, visit Dracula's castle? Absolutely true. I think it was Konami that ran it rather than Nintendo, but no winner was ever announced because around the same time there was a lot of trouble going on in Europe, what with the breakup of Yugoslavia, that would eventually lead to the Bosnian-Herzegovina war, so maybe they cancelled it. Maybe they offered some sort of alternative prize there, who knows. Here's your giant bat boss. I should have grabbed the holy water for this, really. It's incredibly easy to get overwhelmed here when it starts splitting up into swarms. You can usually do a fair job of controlling their flight pattern by switching platforms. Don't try and stop swapping over to the other side of the screen once there's this many of them because you'll just fuck yourself jumping around into them. Got the last one just before it bumped into the Belmont family jewels there. Thank goodness. So this underground road is widely considered to be the hardest path for Dracula's curse. Not just because you can't grab Cypher if you go this way. The overground equivalent of that stage was the Ghost Ship, and although that one's a lot longer, even from the outset you can see it was also a fair bit easier. There's still nothing too savage going on here. In fact, this game has a reputation for being incredibly difficult, but it doesn't really start qualifying for that until around stage 7. Not even moisture droplets are your friend here in stage 5, Alucard's Cave. This is where our third and final companion character of the game awaits us, Dracula's half-vampire son, who will have to beat senseless in order to convince him that we're good people. The firemen here slow you down, even after they're dead, by leaving their burning piles of ash around everywhere like the dirty litterers they are. They were irritating as fuck back in Simon's Quest too, but as far as I know they were never in another Castlevania game after this one. I guess at the very least, they'd be useful for seeing your way around in the caves down here, where Alucard has come to mope like the dippy teenage vampire that he is. You'll notice something of a unique design to this part of the stage here, in that we have both an upper and a lower path running simultaneously. And the only way to get onto the lower path is to wait for that acid cave water to melt all the blocks down, which is why the stage gives you such a ludicrously generous time limit to stand around and wait for it. Is it worth it? God, no. There, see, look, you see the door down the bottom right there? Look how slowly this water's dripping. Just take the top path. What's the matter with you? Standing around watching hair grow. And so you come out the bottom door and you'd have to fight the exact same enemy as you would up top. Plus there's a lift that'll get you down to the bottom anyway, so what's the point? I don't even know why I went down the bottom here, to be honest. You have an easier time with the traps on the next screen if you stay put. Oh, that fucking contest. They were gonna send you to Bran Castle, I think. They said Dracula's Castle. Well, Vlad the Impaler lived in a bunch of them. The two other most famous ones were Poneri Castle and Hunadora Castle. The latter of which that Fox show's scariest places on earth shoved a screaming family in at some point. That program was hilarious.
Tom and Melanie have been sent to take readings in the murder hole.
It was that lady from Poltergeist on narration, right? Zelda Rubinstein. Definitely watch it if you need cheering up. There's full episodes on YouTube somewhere. It's like Most Haunted, but American, so you know it's going to be way funnier. Alright, just over the ledges here lies Alucard, the most worthless of all our bonus characters. He's already up and about, look. Of course, you don't need to sleep in a coffin if you're only half vampire. This is all for show. He wishes he was his dad. Alucard is the original Kylo Ren prototype. This is an almost redundantly easy boss fight that goes on forever. All he does is turn into bats, land somewhere, turn back, throw some fireballs at you, and start over. You don't even have to really try to smack his projectiles out of the air, it just sort of automatically happens when you jump up to whip him in the head, so... Even Grant's more hardcore than Alucard. At least Grant put some effort into his fight. I mean, he would have done if we'd given him the chance and not just burnt the devil out of him with a half gallon of holy water. A for effort, though. Hurry up and fucking die. Well, don't die. I need to show your pitiful abilities as a companion to my Crusaders. But give up. There we go. Now he's naked somewhere. Best not to dwell on that. Easy peasy. He got the same attack pattern as his old man from the first one, except his Dar could teleport. In fact, he's on roughly the same level as the vampire from Frankenstein: The Monster Returns. How shameful can you get? I'm surprised you beat me. I've been waiting for you. I need you to help me destroy Dracula. Come on then. Put some damn pants on first though. I'm glad to hear that. Let's get him. I am Alucard. And he's the only companion in the game that shakes your hand correctly, which truly mystifies me because in all other respects Alucard is clearly on an entirely uncharted level of stupidity. We wave goodbye to Grant again there. Sorry Grant, guess I'd rather hang out with a vampire I just had to stop from tearing my throat out than you. Look how tall he is though. That's important to me, Grant. Short people like you creep me the fuck out. Too close to hell for my liking. So, let's give you the skinny on Alucard, as much as I loathe playing him. His main attack is shooting fireballs out of his cloak. Starts with just the one, but you can collect power-ups for him in much the same way as you upgrade your whip with Trevor, which will add an additional fireball to the attack, to a limit of 3. Now, they're kind of feeble, but they can wipe out practically anything from range with the wide spread that they've got. Most sub-weapons are unavailable to Alucard, but you can still use the stopwatch if need be. You'll want to save your hearts for his bat form though, which I actually forget to show you in this stage. I was ridiculously tired when I was on this playthrough. I've been charging around one of those soft play fortresses with my kids all day, trying very hard not to look like I was having even more fun than they were, but I do remember to show you a little bit later on. This is literally a 2-screen deal. This part, as you've got another branching path to choose from here. Now we can either stay on the road and head into the underground catacombs or descend into the sunken city of Poltergeist, so we'll keep our course for now. Turning back into Trevor now because fuck this idiot. Now we're not actually in the catacombs just yet. This still counts as stage 5, as you can see in the top right, but again it's very short, just one extended screen to reach the boss at the end. You notice that Alucard continues a long and proud tradition of bosses becoming allies in video games and then looking nothing like they did when you fought them. Grant had the excuse of being possessed, for whatever reason he fumbled together as I was about to break his neck. Alucard isn't possessed. Alucard just attacks you because he wants your help. He wants some attention. He wants to try and get a reaction from his dad by hanging around with his mortal enemy. You'll recognise this dude from the first level. Now he's now got the added bonus of the bones you smack out of him turning into homing missiles, but he dies like a bitch all the same. He can actually be quite tricky if you let him breathe, but the trick I pulled there was to run straight past him as the fight started, and then hook back just before he gets off the ground, which will trick him into charging to the left rather than straight towards you. That allows you to wallop him a few times, but more importantly, all his bone missiles will fall in line behind him, which makes it a simple matter of crouching down and whipping the bejesus out of the neat little package you've made yourself there. Well, we're in the catacombs properly now, and the fishmen here don't have any set places that they jump out at you, making it entirely possible for you to get spiked off of a floating platform or in mid-jump, so it's important to keep your eye on their shadows in the water, and very useful to have the axe to knock them out of the air with too. You saw another advanced technique there as well, the bat hop. Doesn't do any physical damage, but the harm to the bat's morale is incredible. Go bats, tell your friends. Docked one as well, but I can't let them all live to tell the tale now, can I? So you think for a character that now has such a widespread influence in history, Alucard would come from a fairly venerable source, but it always amuses me greatly he was conceived for the 1943 Universal movie Son of Dracula, which is absolutely fucking terrible. It was the third Dracula movie of the original Bela Lugosi run, if you don't count the Spanish language version of the first film. And it followed Dracula's Daughter, which is actually a very decent first sequel. Son of Dracula is awful though. And it's not just that you got Lon Chaney Jr. playing the vampire. Nothing against Lon Chaney Jr. at all, but the dude looks more like a mob boss throughout the whole sorry affair. It's more that the whole thing plays out like a shitty soap opera, with Dracula Jr. trying to marry the daughter of some plantation owner to get her money. For what? I can't remember. Maybe they never tell you. I have no idea what a vampire would need to buy that badly, because he's left his own majestic castle to marry this woman. But, fucking hell. You need to hear the accent on Lon. There's an amazing scene at the end where this guy has set his coffin on fire, and Dracula's freaking out, pointing at it, jumping all over. He grabs the dude by the shoulders and he goes, put it out, I told you. Oh my goodness, it's so bad. But obviously, you know, he's disguising his true identity with this Alucard name for the whole thing, and you might say, well, any idiot can see that's Dracula spelt backwards. The alarming thing is that you're right. You know, like the first scene of the movie is a guy figuring that shit out by reading the name on his luggage backwards. But then it's even stupider because it takes them pretty much 90% of the runtime to figure out that the guy called Dracula might be the one leaving a trail of blood-drained corpses all over the place. We get Frankie again here. He always seems a lot more aggressive if you fight him on this stage rather than at the Cursed Tower, but so long as you stay up here, keep dropping axes on his head, there's nothing he can do to you, apart from stamp his feet about, throw a tantrum. Sorry, Frankie. He always gets a rough deal in these games. Don't think we really got a decent fight out of him until Symphony of the Night, to be honest. Right, back we go to the split, just after Alucard's cave, and we're heading down into the sunken city of Poltergeist, which is a very welcome change of scenery from all these damn cave walls. Make a lot of the underground path of this game a bit visually dreary. No idea why it's called the sunken city of Poltergeist. No poltergeist activity here whatsoever, but it is home to a large number of bone dragons, including their mighty Bone Dragon King, last seen eating a ton of shit when I smashed him to pieces in Haunted Castle. And this is one of my favourite themes of the whole game. Don't know if it's because I come here right after listening to the slow, doomy music from Alucard's cave or whatever, but the immediate splash of colour and lively tunage put me in a top mood. This is a lovely level to play through, even better once you get to the boss and shit starts getting cinematic. Oh, goddamn, I just read today that Netflix have got their own ultra-violent Castlevania series in the works. How fucking sweet is that? I'd already been waiting around for years for the animated movie of Dracula's Curse to materialise, the one they had Warren Ellis working on, but nothing ever came of it. This new one's from Adi Shankar, the guy who produced Punisher Dirty Laundry and Judge Dredd's Super Fiend series. Being forced to fight shit on the stairs in this game is a joke. Hold on, check out the points value of these bags here. Lol. That's some first class trolling. But yeah, having to fight on the stairs is the one truly awful thing about Dracula's Curse. There is no goddamn need for it. It's even worse in situations like back there, where anytime you try to duck, you just end up going back down the stairs. You can't even duck at the top of the stairs. There's always been a fucking problem in the Castlevania games. Easily fixable problem as well. Just make it the diagonal buttons. Just do that. You can't whip diagonally in these early games. You have absolutely no other need for the diagonal command. Tie that to the stairs. Because the same goes for when you're heading up them as well. You have to press up and attack to use a special weapon, so trying to use one on the stairs where you will often need to is an absolute shit show. You take a couple of steps, then an axe might come out, and you might get another one. You might just charge into whatever fucking thing's hopping around, lashing out at you up there. You might get a Medusa head or a bat in the crotch. It's just by far the worst thing about these games. Alright, just a couple more of these to lay waste to, and then we're off to pay our respects to the king. Always found it strange that these things live in the walls. I'm guessing they were alive once. What do they live on? How do they mate? You're overthinking this. Shut up. I'm gonna level with you here. I want a cup of tea, but I'm also worried about continuity on the commentary track, so I'm gonna pause this, make one, come back. It will appear as if I've made the tea in mere seconds. So if you're sitting there thinking, hang on, that can't be right, can it? Know that you have merely fallen prey to an illusion of the editing process. Alright, I'm back with tea. Everybody's happy now. I had a cheeky wee as well. Don't want to commentate this epic boss fight on a full bladder. Goes on forever. Watch. In he comes, takes the right fucking kicking, and runs away before you can finish the job, punching a hole in the ceiling in an attempt to drown you. I mean, I was obviously being sarcastic when I described this as an epic battle, but my bladder would have been rinsing itself into overdrive at the sight of all this running water, so that break was a fine idea all in all. Right, now you're in trouble, because the sunken city is about to get a fair bit more sunken. The water level is gradually pushing its way up the screen towards you, and you've got to make it to the stairs at the end, which isn't difficult, so long as you don't stop for anything or get distracted by the path past the stairs. Here we are. Don't fuck about going down there. Just keep yourself moving. Glory awaits. Although the Bone Dragon King is kind of a letdown as a boss, this does set the scene for future Castlevanias where end-of-level battles started to incorporate more Hollywood-style set pieces and moving scenery. Like when Death shows up to beat your head in while you're on top of your horse and cart in Rondo of Blood. Just get across these fast collapsing pillar tops here and old Bone is waiting for us at the end. There's his life bar, still clinging on to those two shit spiders of health. He can't hurt you for the first few seconds, so take that opportunity to get in behind him, slap his bum, finish this quick. Alright, one more stage to go before we start to get chasing the end game down here, and we're back at stage 7. Albeit the alternative path to the ramparts we so brazenly scuttled over at the start of the video. Now entering the castle through an abandoned mine, which contains the most irritating part of the entire game by far. In fact, most of this level seems to be designed to upset you. Not to destroy you, that's stage 9's job, but look at this. It's like a bloody saw trap. You got to stand there, wait for the water drops to open the way out for you. Oh, you know what? Fuck this. There we go. Right, here's where it dawns on me that I haven't shown you Alucard turning into a bat yet, so go ahead and do that for you. Now, were I a smart man, or more awake, I would have saved this for a point later in the level where it meant I could bypass a very large, very annoying chunk of it without being too detrimental to the playthrough, but alas, I was running on gas fumes by this point, so no dice. You see there that your bat form does chew through your heart supply quite rapidly, so you've got to be careful where you use it, but as I said in the last video, even only using it for a few seconds at a time can save you large chunks of each screen by flying between floors and the like. I mean, using any of these characters, Grant, Cypher, Alucard, you're very rarely going to come up against anything that can give you any trouble. Because anything that the developers made challenging for them would be damn near impossible for Trevor. And it's because the entire game is designed to challenge a character several tiers below them that it's so ridiculously easy to breeze through Dracula's Curse with the companions. Look at this. What the fuck am I doing here? This is how half asleep I am. Turn into Alucard as a block's about to smash my head in, and do the same thing again with a bat form. God damn it, that was close. Fucking hell. And I've done it to save maybe 5 seconds. Even though there's much worse than that coming up. What on earth? I think I was on maybe my 3rd playthrough in a row by this point, quite honestly, and just the thinnest mists of boredom were starting to seep in through the cracks. I tend to play suicidally when I'm bored. That aggravating bat boss from the murky marsh of morbid morons shows up again in a second. I think this time I remember to grab myself some holy water to deal with his mass multiplying bullshit. Yeah, I do. That was smart of me. That's me trying to redeem myself there. Alright, this is why you grab the holy water for the bath. Simple as that. Alright, now, this part coming up. Jesus Christ. You literally just have to stand here and wait for this tower to build itself. And I'm not joking, it takes over 2 fucking minutes. That is ridiculous. I'm not going to make you sit through that shit, but even if I fast forward it right here, you can see that by this point, the developers are just trying to unhinge you before you get through the castle doors. I mean, fuck almighty. Are you joking? Of course, the real shit of this the first time you play it is that you're probably going to get beaten to death by falling blocks if you don't find the pattern quick enough. And even if you barely escape with your life, you still got to head upstairs and face the mummies, the Cyclops and the lesser demons, so... See what I mean when I said about using Alucard's bat form too early? Alucard can just fly the fuck past all of this shit. No big deal to him. 2 hearts wasn't going to carry me up there from the bottom. As soon as I clocked that in the playthrough, I was like, for fuck's sake, you idiots. Oh, we're about halfway there now. This is the longest damn level in the game. One of those fucking Death Mountain style knockabouts. What's the hardest game you've ever played? In fact, let's split this up into 2. What's the hardest game you've ever played? And what's the hardest game you've ever finished? There we go. Then we can get a measure of what sort of man you are and the gap left between them, can't we? Look, this is another section we could bypass in 2 seconds with Alucard. That feels like cheating here though, so played it properly, like a sucker. I would have to say the hardest game I've ever completed... Oh... That's difficult to say, really. It is. I mean, I've completed a lot of games that are widely considered to be bastard hard, but because I've played them so much, I don't really think of them as that difficult anymore. Maybe overall... Battletoads, maybe? You see this for yourself in a couple of Wednesdays' time when I do it for the murder path, but there are a lot of games that are just as hard for different reasons. Definitely the hardest game I never completed, or even truly began, was back when I had no idea what a cave shooter was, and I picked up one of the Dodonpachi games, Death Label or something or other, thinking, oh, god damn it, I haven't played a good shooter in a while. I popped it in and I was just fucking baffled by what was happening to me. So hard to describe what a bullet hell shooter is unless you've played one. I mean, it's not, it's exactly what it sounds like, but so much worse. Like, it's the hell part of the description that's lacking there. It's much worse than that. Imagine if you asked a group of young children for a class project to take the game Devious and make it nearly impossible. Now, like, a group of adults might come up with some kind of insidiously sneaky bullshit, like making your enemies too fast or maybe underpowering your weapons, but a group of kids would go straight for the most obvious answer, which is to fill the goddamn screen with bullets. So many bullets, hundreds upon hundreds everywhere, no escape. Like, every attack in that game is like you're fighting some abomination with a cold. Every time they sneeze, instead of thousands of germs spraying out their nostrils, it's bullets. First time I turned it on, I thought it was a joke. Honest to God. You know, like how at the start of Final Fantasy II you get in a fight that you're not supposed to win for storyline purposes? You get killed and then you wake up and the plot goes on. I thought it was that shit. I thought there'd be a cutscene in the game and start treating me reasonably. But no, it's a mockery. Then again, somebody told me that the one I picked up was supposed to be the hardest one ever, and the developer specifically said he wanted people to be playing it for like 7 years before they were able to beat it. 7 years! Fucking hell, mate. You're not seeing how long games are now? I've not even touched Fallout 4 yet. I'm about 10 years behind everybody else, and you want 7 out of me? Mercy. Alright, here we go with the exact same triple threat boss fight that we had in the first incarnation of Stage 7. Mummies, Cyclops, Lesser Demon. Oh my. In a rare case of this stage not utterly breaking your balls, this version's a little bit less painful on account of the higher platforms on either side of the arena being gone, which gets the Cyclops dead a touch faster, and gives the Lesser Demon nowhere to run when we're slapping the shit out of him. Oh, comes out fighting, he's raring to go, trying to catch you by surprise there. So even with Trevor, these are simple. I can't tell you how boring it is to do this with Cypher, standing up out of the way, flattening anything that moves with ball lightning. And there's our boy Red. I love how he's all squashed up in that fucking coffin. He won't even hop up on the tiny platforms here, so this is just like a fight in a simpler version of Dracula's final form from the first Castlevania. I think he might actually have more health than Dracula's final form in this game even, but he balances it by being fat, slow, and useless. Burn, you freak. Right then. We're off to the Count's castle to do some bloody damage now. Trevor with a classic 80s freeze frame celebration there. Yeah! Castlevania, directed by John Hughes. Come on, Alucard. Let's go kill your dad. Here we go then. This should be instantly recognisable to anybody who's played the first Castlevania, as it's a recreation of the second screen of the game, the castle entrance hall. You know, we keep knocking this damn castle down, and every year, it pops right the fuck back up, looking just like it did before. It's remarkable. Go ask Dracula how he does it before we send him back to hell, truly. This is a very short stage of one big main attraction. Grim Reaper's waiting at the finish line to put an end to your bullshit, and as ever, Konami treat death with infinitely more respect than they do Frankenstein, or even Dracula really, so they're not going to make it easy on you. That's my job, I'll make it easy on you. First thing we'll want is at least a double shot, and there's one conveniently hidden in the wall just before him. Now you notice that you really have to search for those double and triple shots this time around. They're all hidden away in walls, like the roast ham, so you're not getting them just for whipping a candle. We'll want to keep hold of the cross here too, even though his second form is completely immune to it. It won't matter by that point really. The axe is a plausible replacement, but not really ideal, so jump that son of a bitch back there. What am I doing? No idea why I went to grab that ham there, no idea. Might have become temporarily confused and thought the double shot was there, rather than in a few screens time. As I say, I was very, very tired. You know, back when Nintendo Power Magazine reviewed this when it came out, it didn't even make the cover. You know what did? Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers for the NES. How dare you? Choke on that, you son of a bitch. An Axe Knight bullshitted me out of my no-hit run just before death in the first game. Ain't gonna happen again. Of course, we have the advantage of there not being a million Medusa heads weaving up and down to distract us this time, but whatever. We're approaching Bonesy himself now, and for a lot of people, this is the hardest fight in the game, same as in the first Castlevania. Now, he spawns in mid-air this time around, so we can't bullshit him to death with the holy water, but fear not, I will show you how to utterly embarrass him without such parlor tricks. A lot of players and guide writers tell you to bide your time with death here, take it slow. Fuck that. General advice for any fight lovers, whether it's in gaming or real life. Hit the motherfucker as hard and fast as you can. Right, here we go. Immediately climb straight to the top of the right hand platforms, hurl a couple of crosses out, jump and strike, and you'll miss his scythes as they spawn. Land behind him, hit him again, and there he's already half dead, you see? Take a second to compose yourself, do some cleanup on the scythes, and pelt a couple more crosses at him, and that's the hard part over. Charge straight to the right here. On his second form, he will always loop into the left and box you in otherwise. And as I say, he's immune to the cross here, but you've got an enormous target to drop bombs on with your whip here, so it's just a case of staying far enough away to chip him down and deal with the odd scythe floating your way. I'm even making a bit of a meal of it here, to be honest, but there you go. Hardest boss, my balls. Even if you're missing the cross, you can do some serious damage with the holy water to his first form by just pasting the ground with it whenever he comes in for a landing. It's never death himself that's the problem in his boss battles, it's his fucking mini scythes constantly outzoning you. Stage 9! Oh, stage 9. Time to earn your Castlevania A levels here, because this one takes snippets of every pain in the arse section you've encountered over the course of the NES trilogy so far, wraps it all into one devastating trial. Let's start with another ghoul, rabbit and harpy session here. In complete contradiction to the advice I gave you about fighting the Grim Reaper, this is one part where you do need to take your time to destroy every single one of the little bastards before they hop out at you. The minute one of them can do anything better than touch the ground, you're in trouble here. Start chasing one and you'll have no time to deal with the rest of them. There you go, and he's safe once there's a block in the way to stop him from just charging across the screen to close you down. A rare empty room up the stairs here, besides the seemingly unreachable candlesticks. And you might have noticed that this sort of scenario in a few levels previously, but they're set up so that you can only grab them with Grant's wall climbing ability, or occasionally Alucard's bat form. Very rarely is there anything particularly useful in there. Up the stairs here is where shit starts getting interesting, and by interesting I mean, for the love of fucking God, this is an entire section based around stair combat. Now this is next to impossible to do pre-bat form with Alucard, because he can't use his main attack on the stairs whatsoever. But overall, this is actually nowhere near as bad as it looks with Trevor. You got plenty of time to get through the stage, so it's just a matter of moving up into a position just below the Bone Pillar's fireballs, taking out the next gargoyle to come at you, and then moving past to glory. I mean, I got cocky there because that's how I play, but as you're almost certainly a far more humble and level-headed gamer than I am, you shouldn't have any real trouble with this. Just the one axe knight here, begging you to overestimate your positioning on the stairs and catch his low axe in the face. This is another trap for those who haven't got it through their heads yet, that trying to duck attack this dude will send you back down the steps. Only move in once you know you can clear that initial block coming off of him. We've got another one of those vertically scrolling, reality-devouring towers of doom coming up in a minute, with added balls of doom. So what's your favourite wall of death in a game? So many classics. There was a great one fairly recently in Donkey Kong Country Returns. It's made up of just thousands and thousands of spiders chasing you through the jungle. Pure fucking nightmare juice, that one. Or for a classic, what about the Bloody Swamp from Kid Chameleon? Fuck me, the Bloody Swamp. For a while, I seriously thought that spat on anything from Battletoads. A rubber banding wall of doom. That was like the most brutal difficulty spike on the Genesis, I swear to God. Again, this isn't exactly the most horrific example of this in the whole game. At least you don't have the fucking gargoyles to deal with coming up here. As long as you stay near the top and move quick, you'll move faster than the skeletons can spawn to fight you. Eliminate a good deal of the danger of being consumed by the bottom of the screen as you wait for an opening in their pattern to climb up past them. This is the only part that might brain fart you something rotten. Easy to let that ball tear you up as it comes back down the side of the block there, but on the whole, it's not really that the individual sections are overly difficult here, and more that it's the fact that they're just one after the other and contain a lot of instant kill situations, so it's just about getting your head together to do it all back to back. But this is the hardest screen in Dracula's Curse by far. By far. Now, you've got to avoid the fishmen in the water while fighting the current and the crows up top. And because you're always jumping to fight past the current and dodge the fishmen, that throws you right into the attack arc of the birds, so they need to be your primary focus here. Just don't let the screen run too far ahead of you. That's the key to beating this. Don't trigger the crows until you're comfortable. They can be a real shit to beat on flat land on their own terms anyway. Like, the best thing you can do if you can't kill them outright is to close them down and force them to fly away from you, and then catch them as they swoop in low on the way back. But once you get up top, there's a couple more to deal with just before the stairs out, but you can quite reliably force an off-screen despawn on the furthest one by charging at it. I was specifically asked to give tactical advice on this stage. One of my subs messaged me and requested it especially, so I'm trying to take you through the tricky bits as best I can here. Here's your stage 9 boss fight, the Doppelganger, and I'm sorry, I did cheap this poor bastard out a little bit by morphing into Cypher. I just couldn't be fucked with it that day. There are 3 ways to beat this thing. Legitimately, hand to hand, which is as long-winded as balls. Use Cypher, which isn't. Or I think the most common method, which is to repeatedly transform between Trevor and your companion character and wound it while it's in the middle of switching its form to match you, which is incredibly cheap. Maybe not as cheap as what I've done here, but still. I turned back to Trevor to finish him off in the end because I felt that bad about it. Shame. Shame on me. It is nearly impossible to beat the Doppelganger without taking some sort of damage from a stray cross or whip as you try to jump over it, so, you know. Alrighty, Count Dracula, we're coming for you, sucker. Stage 10, final level. Will indulge in some limited ball breaking before it lets you fight the big man himself. This doesn't go on for too long, thankfully. Just long enough to give you the opportunity to gather enough hearts to be comfortable fighting him. And his 3 forms. Another vertical crushing screen to deal with here. You absolutely must duck and face right to get past that cog. It's not enough to just crouch. You won't make it under the ledge, you'll stick there and get squelched up by the invisible ceiling of doom, so don't make that mistake. Lost a lot of lives on that when I was a kid. You know, you can talk about steaks and sunlight and garlic, but you know what Dracula's true weakness here is, don't you? Bad resource management. Look at all these damn Medusa heads flying around the place. Now, as I understand it, Gorgons are pretty fucking formidable ground troops to have on your side. They're traditionally solid melee combatants with sweet archery skills. I mean, we must have passed, what, 40 or 50 so far? At least. But what he's done here is he's pulled their fucking heads off, just let them sort of drift around the place like carrier bags, hoping they'll bump into something. Don't you have bats for that? Aren't you literally made of fucking bats in several of your attacks? Something to think on. Perfunctory, annoying bastard skeleton room here to break up a couple of high concept traps. The pendulum room's up next, and Konami know how to pace their better ideas very well at this point. Something that will come to a beautiful climax in Super Castlevania 4. Wouldn't be a Castlevania title without the bone-throwing skeleton at the top of a rangy staircase, would it? Can't ever let that old chestnut lie. I said in the first video about enemies that are already attacking thin air in a fucking frenzy before they've even seen you walk on screen. Well, the bone thrower's the best one, because he's literally up there tearing himself to pieces for no reason. Hopping around, snapping his own ribs off, chucking his femur down the stairs. Poor red bastard at the bottom must be just shitting himself. This room here is actually significantly harder in the US version. Anywhere past the Japanese version, they've added bats into the mix as well, which come at you incredibly fast as you're trying to cross the room. Alright, god damn it, let's go kill us a vampire lord. Still haven't fixed that shitty looking cloud across the moon from the first Castlevania. So, first form is considered the hardest because of Dracula's fire pillar attack. I have no idea why. What's wrong with you people? Are you forgetting you can jump? It does come at you fairly quickly, I'll admit. And what happens is, you get stuck between the first two columns of flame and then spiked by the third, but as you can see, you still got plenty of space to move out of its way. Never understood the ball ache with that one. That's the end of that nonsense. Form 2, affectionately known as Dracu Fiveface. Yeah, he's nothing special. It will look like you're killing off his faces one by one here, which might fool you into thinking that you need to be going after the ones that aren't already dead as the fight goes on, but you just smack him any way you like. Just don't get right underneath him, or he'll bleed in your hair. If you're wondering why all the faces are making such derpy expressions, like that one on the left especially, ha, ha, consider that they've only got the one brain up the top between the 5 of them. Down it goes, but Dracula's still not finished. Now he's a giant statue that fires laser beams from his wrists, but also helpfully levitates sections of the floor up so that we can have a nice clean shot at his one weak point, the jaw on the top of his head. Why is this a final form? Bosses always do this in games. They transform into something that can't move or fight properly because it's gotten too big to fit in the fucking room, so it has to kneel down and shoot at you. I mean, he can't even move his arms, or he'd swap me straight off of that platform right there. Upon us all though, Dracula. Upon us all. And there we are, Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse. The whole damn thing, from beginning to end, every route, every stage. Jesus Christ, that took forever. We just got the endings to plow through now, so we'll start with ciphers and work our way backwards. Down goes the castle. My god, Cypher's a woman. And there you go, Jesus Christ. Trevor doesn't waste time, does he? As soon as he learns it's got a vagina, he's all over it. Trevor made many sacrifices. The long fight is over. Dracula is dead, and all other spirits are asleep. Cypher, the vampire killer, has had a bad life. As soon as she met Trevor, she is beginning to feel more comfortable with herself. Well, that was nearly progressive for the time, Konami. For about 10 to 15 seconds there, you had a playable female character without personality defects that only meeting the right man could cure, but a fine try, nonetheless. Let's check in with Grant now. It's only really the middle paragraphs that we're interested in here because the top and bottom are the same in all of the endings. Both feel their friendship is stronger since they work together to rid Wallachia, City of Evil. Grant will start to rebuild the destroyed areas of the city. I thought he was an acrobat. Would you let an acrobat take on a massive architectural renovation project like that? Alone? Look at him. His knees are in pieces. Sometimes you just gotta say, thanks, but fuck no. Over to Alucard. The battle was won by Trevor and Alucard, but Alucard feels guilty because he killed his real father. Trevor realizes this as he stands there thinking about Alucard. Like several hours later, after he's already stood there as the castle fell down, slapping him on the back going, fuck yeah! Sure made that son of a bitch scream like a pig before we finished him off. Hey Alucard, how long do you think it took him to die? You know, I'm not certain I actually heard his final breath. He might still be in there, in absolute parting agony, his chest crushed, his face all fucked up, gasping for air, but still somehow clinging to life. Alucard, why are you crying? And here's one more ending for if you were a completely antisocial bastard and refused any and all help from anybody you encountered. In the shadows, a person watches the castle fall. Trevor must go for now, but he hopes someday he will get the respect that he deserves. And I mean, if you head on back to that village after killing Dracula, knocking his house down and cleansing the land of his army of monsters, and people are still spitting at your feet, then goddamn, the villagers of Wallachia have some monsters of their own living between their legs, don't they? Are you mad? Killed a vampire lord in open combat. Don't care. Go fuck yourself. Lovelies. It's been a pleasure showing you the ins and outs of Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse, but here's my question to you. Would you like to keep Castlevania as an occasional retro rumble? Or would you prefer to see a monthly series dedicated exclusively to the franchise? I'm thinking that maybe just because there are so many damn Castlevania games out there, it might be prudent to make a special bit of room for them so they don't end up clogging up the Retro Rumble playlist. I'd love to hear an opinion or two on that, so drop it on down below, and I'll see you on Monday for a brand new Retro Rumble.